Hey, what's up, everybody? I hope everyone is doing well. I hope all you guys had a great weekend. As you know, I didn't put out a video the past couple days. I was sort of just relaxing this weekend. I know the Packers had a family night on Saturday night. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to watch that because lots of you guys know this. Maybe you guys who are new here don't know this, but I actually don't live in Wisconsin. And from what I heard, there wasn't another way to watch it, so that's why I didn't watch it. And if now you're sitting there wondering, why are you a Packers fan? Actually, the reason is my mom grew up in Wisconsin. She raised me as a Packers fan, so it's sort of just in my blood. I grew up watching the Packers, grew up with my little Brett Favre jersey on, running around watching Brett Favre. So that is the reason for that, in case you were probably wondering if you just found out that I don't actually live in Wisconsin. So today, what I want to do is go through a little bit the sort of plan the Packers have for this new Joe Barry defense, specifically with the star position, basically just the slot cornerback. They shared a little bit more about, sort of who they plan to use there, different kind of guys who could potentially, be used there in the future. So that's sort of what I want to focus on in today's video because, with Joe Barry coming in, we've been wondering how this defense is going to look. And, we maybe have gotten a little bit of ideas about sort of how it could look. One thing that I picked up as well is sort of just the way that this defense disguises itself. Aaron Rodgers talked about it a lot, about how it's a lot harder to read where guys are going to be. They move their assignments. He was talking about that kind of stuff. So we've learned a little bit along the way about how this Joe Barry defense is going to look. But I want to go over a few different quotes that came out in a press conference the other day. With Jerry Gray, he had a good amount to say, so I want to go over some of that. But when we take a look back at last year with the Packers when it came to slot cornerback snaps, I was just doing some research trying to figure out, how many snaps were played by, the cornerback, by some safeties at slot cornerback. We know Chandon Sullivan was the guy who was mainly there last season, and it's probably going to be his role, at least to start off with, I feel like, coming into 2021, because I have heard that he's been the guy who has gotten the most snaps there throughout, practice and training camp so far. But last season, Chandon Sullivan had 608 snaps. And then actually, Darnell Savage had 229 snaps as a slot cornerback. Will Redmond had 134, and Adrian Amos had 108. And all those stats are from PFF. So that's something interesting for last season. So now coming into 2021, of course, the Packers have a somewhat similar cornerback group. We still have Jair Alexander, Chandon Sullivan, Kevin King. Kevin King has been injured, so Eric Stokes has gotten a lot of playing time, so far in this training camp. But the Packers also, drafted Eric Stokes in the first round, Shamar Jean-Charles in the fifth round, who is more of like a slot cornerback guy. So there are multiple guys who could potentially play this role. And so I'm going to come here to a quote that was put out on PackersNews.com from Jerry Gray. He had this to say. He said, "We evaluated Shamar going out of Appalachian State, and I thought he did a great job in the slot," Gray said. "I thought he was really, really knowledgeable about the game. He wasn't afraid to make tackles. When you're a slot corner, most guys think that I'm just a cover guy. And when you watch him coming out of college, that guy's tough. He makes plays." So Shamar Jean-Charles is, a smaller guy who is probably going to be used mainly in the slot when he does play. But of course, Chandon Sullivan still has been the guy who has gotten a majority of snaps. We have this here from PackersNews.com as well. They say Sullivan, who played the slot last year in Mike Pettine's system, gets almost all the snaps with the number one defense. Alexander got 2 for the first time last week, and probably will see more as the season goes on. Savage has yet to receive any, much to his chagrin. I talked to Savage, and he's begging to get in. So that's about playing that, slot sort of nickel corner. And as PackersNews.com said there, Sullivan has been the guy getting the majority of reps, which makes sense considering last year he sort of was that guy for the Packers last season. But also the fact that Jair Alexander is getting some playing time there as well. And as he was already talking about a little bit about Shamar Jean-Charles, who, has possibly getting some time there as well. So a few different guys who could be used in that star position. And one thing, too, that is interesting that people have mentioned is, last year with Joe Barry being with the Rams, Jalen Ramsey actually played a good amount, or a little bit at least, in that slot corner role. So which makes sense why Jair Alexander, who people, I would say, compare those two guys to each other. Jair Alexander could see some similar stuff, and he has, as we saw from that quote, gotten some time there at practice in the past couple weeks. And I was just curious, how many snaps Jalen Ramsey last year took from the slot position. Was it a majority? Was it not a majority? So last year, if we take a look at Jalen Ramsey's snaps, he had 1,001 snaps overall. 173 of his 1,001 snaps were from the slot. So 17% of the time, Jalen Ramsey was playing that slot corner, star, nickel cornerback position. And so who knows if Joe Barry will use Jair Alexander in the slot a similar amount of time as Jalen Ramsey was used, but it's sort of something interesting to keep a look at. And so that's one thing I want to see in this season. Like, how much is Jair going to be used, in that slot position? Because it is, it's going to be interesting to sort of watch what happens there. And then we have this other quote from The Athletic that came out. It's a quote from Jerry Gray, and it says this: "We've got 4 guys that I think can really, really play at that level." Talking about, the slot position, depending on who's in the slot for the other team, Gray said. So at least sometimes we may be playing against a team with 2 really good tight ends, and we'll say, hey, we need Savage in there. Maybe a better wide receiver when they're putting their number 1 in there, and do we have to match Alexander? So right now, I think we're giving guys chances. So when we get in there, it's not the first time that they've been in that position, and I think that's good for us. So they're giving guys, multiple guys an opportunity at that position. So if there ever is a time they need to sub some guy in, they're ready to go. Talking about, possibly using Darnell Savage in there to cover tight ends if that is needed at times. And basically just being able to, flip different guys in there. So basically it's not always going to be the same guy in there, even though someone may have a majority of the snaps. So those are a few different quotes that I thought were sort of interesting and gave us some more idea or some more depth, I guess, and depth into the idea of, what we could see from the Packers when it comes to that slot corner role coming into the 2021 season. But it's going to be interesting to see sort of which cornerbacks come in and, have the opportunity to come in and, take that starting role. Because as we've seen, Kevin King has been injured for the past couple weeks, and Eric Stokes has gotten time in there. And there was another quote actually from Jerry Gray about what he could do when it comes to, utilizing Kevin King and Eric Stokes. I'm not sure if I have it here. I thought I had it, but maybe I actually do not have it. Maybe I didn't take a snapshot of that. But basically what he was saying was, he was saying Kevin King didn't lose his spot just because of an injury. But then he was also saying during the season, having a guy like Eric Stokes, he was like, it's not out of the realm of possibilities to maybe use one guy one series, one guy the next series. So who knows, maybe starting off, maybe Kevin King and Eric Stokes will switch series. I guess that's a possibility. But I would assume, whoever is the most talented, they're going to start getting more snaps. So if Eric Stokes shows that he knows the defense, he's ready to go, I don't see why the Packers wouldn't put him in there. But the question is, is he ready to go? Is he going to be better right off the bat than Kevin King, who has spent more time, on the Packers defense? That's a question. Who knows? Maybe Eric Stokes pushes his way in there right away. But those are some different things about the cornerback position. And if you guys want to see more Packers content and you've yet to subscribe, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel down below. I think we're like 300 subs away from 10,000, which is awesome. So I do appreciate all you guys who have been watching, commenting, supporting the channel. I really do appreciate it. And I'm pretty excited for the season. We only have like a month now till the season actually starts. So that should be fun and exciting when the season actually starts. Have some real football. I know preseason starts like this Saturday for the Packers, I'm pretty sure. Who are we playing again? I have trouble remembering some of these things. I think we're playing, let's see, Packers preseason schedule. It's nice to have Google to give you some answers when you forget things. You guys already know. Okay, we're playing the Texans this Saturday at 7 p.m. I wonder where you can watch that. Live on ABC, NBC, and 3 more. Okay, so that should be fun. That should be fun to see. But anyways, that's all I wanted to cover for today. In this video, at least. I may come out with more later today. We will see what happens. But thank you guys for watching as always, and I'll see you guys next time.